Okay. I don't know a lot of you guys, but I'll just go ahead and introduce myself. So my name is Letitia Smith, and I am one of the trainers in the Northeast region. And again, I'm going to be filling in for Stacy today as we cover week 8 for education and training. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead. Let me share my screen and get started. All right. Can everybody see that? Yes. Okay. All right. Now, Stacy told me you guys are a fantastic class, lots of chit chat and chatter. So I'm excited to see what you guys have for me. Okay. All right. So with this week, again, it's the 8th week and we're going over education and training. However, I do want to start off just by checking in with how the week of advocacy went. So I know with Stacy being on vacation, you guys may not have received your grades back yet. I don't know. I'm a little iffy on that. Haven't got all
We
that.
did.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have access to like the actual feedback or anything like that. But how do you guys feel it went with using advocacy? You guys were going over the I statements, preparing for a doctor's appointment, those types of things. Let me see. Who raised their hand first? I'm so sorry. Holly?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have a lady who is going through treatments right now for radiation, and she's a very anxious person anyway. But she said every time she goes to the doctor, there's so much coming at her with her results and her radiation and her treatment planning. So we actually did the checklist, went through all of her concerns, and then also addressed how to cope with her anxiousness, but also with her family, because she's one who worries more about her family than
Right.
herself.
Mm.
So she did utilize that at the appointment and then ended up having a better understanding of what the next steps are for her treatment. So it went well.
Hey, good for her. I like that. So it went
Yes.
very well. Yes. Thank you for sharing.
Well,
All
you're
right.
welcome.
Alexis, how did it go for you?
I would say mine went well too. So my guy that I did it with, he's always interacting with his peers, very social.
Mhm.
But when we did the activity for the I statements, he identified that he didn't feel comfortable advocating for himself, which I found, surprising,
Mhm.
because I'm used to him socializing and interacting with people. So I don't know, I just assumed that maybe advocacy would be something that he felt comfortable with. So doing this activity helped us identify some things that he was struggling with. And when we did the I statements, we role played it. And, after I was like, would you like for me to come with you, as a support to advocate? And he was like, no, I feel comfortable doing this. Thank you for like walking me through this. And
Mhm.
so it really just like opened up my eyes to other things, to explore and help him with.
That's good. And that would have been not would have been, but this is a great way to look at a client's strengths again, like redo a SNAP assessment, because maybe they don't even realize, or maybe they thought something was a strength, but when they're actually in that moment, they're like, oh no, this really isn't a strength that I actually
Mhm.
do have. So that's a great example. Good. I'm glad that he was able to realize that and you guys were able to work on it together. Good, good. Anybody else? Did anybody have difficulty with any of the activities in week 7? It was all pretty standard, pretty good. Okay. All right. Well then, let's go ahead and jump in to our current week of education and training. So, like we typically like to do, we like to start off by just looking at what the Ohio Administrative Code says, because again, that is what governs what we do as TBS workers. So, according to the OAC, education and training is defined as being directed towards clients and, when appropriate, their family, guardian, provider, county boards, facilities, and others that are involved closely with the day to day functions of the client. So it is specific to the assessed client's needs, their abilities, and willingness to learn. And this intervention can include education about the client's mental illness, their medication, and even their side effects. So when it comes to education and training, this is vital for engagement and it's going to allow for better outcomes for your individuals. So as you provide education and training to your client, you want to think of this as an opportunity to work on your professional relationship with your clients. And you want to make sure that you're ensuring your relationship with your clients is a therapeutic relationship, okay? So as you demonstrate and impart your knowledge, you want to focus on building the trust in your clients because they're going to look at you as, you're the one who's the expert in this field. So your knowledge and understanding of their diagnosis and the effectiveness of treatment that can influence your client's motivation to even want to change. Does anybody know what QMHS stands for? Like offhand, can anybody tell me what that means? Yes, you can just go ahead and talk.
Oh. Did you say the acronyms of QMHS?
Yes, what does that stand for?
Qualified Medical Health Assistant or Services?
So it's actually, you're close, very close, Qualified Mental Health Specialist, right? So
Yeah.
according to the state of Ohio, you guys are all QMHSs, right? So in the state of Ohio, you are Qualified Mental Health Specialists. So basically, we just want to make sure that you are sharing your expertise with your clients because, again, you are the expert in the field, okay? So what does research say when it comes to education and training? So research that shows that a provider's attitude can positively or even negatively affect client outcomes. So you want to be mindful of your own attitude when providing education and training. So if you all are enthusiastic about the education and training that you are providing to your clients, then your client is going to be more likely to enthusiastically participate in sessions and they're going to want to practice the skills that you have been teaching them. So like you just see here, for example, TBS specialist, your optimism that symptoms can decrease and functioning can improve with treatment, that can influence the motivation of your clients to be able to engage and even to participate. So clients can misunderstand their diagnosis. It happens all the time, okay? They can even have a hard time understanding how the interventions that you are providing relate back to their actual diagnosis. Or maybe they have a hard time understanding how the medications that they have been prescribed by the nurse practitioner, how those are to help them in reducing their symptoms. So these things can all result in your client becoming non-compliant in the treatment that you're trying to provide, okay? So if a person knows their diagnosis and they know their symptoms are not uncommon, that can provide a sense of comfort and relief for your individuals because they need to understand that they're not alone in their experience. You often hear us say around here, you want to normalize your client's experience. So when we say that, we want to make sure that you are allowing your client to know that however they experience their diagnosis, it's okay, right? And you can have two clients who have the same exact diagnosis. Maybe they both experience being diagnosed with depression, right? But how they specifically experience those symptoms associated with that diagnosis of depression can be wildly different, okay? But it's okay. And that's the part that we need to normalize for them. Also, clients have a right to know about their diagnosis, okay? They need to know about what strategies are available so that they can achieve health and wellness. And they also need to know how to they can best navigate the services that are being provided to them. Clients, they have a right to know about the risks and even the benefits that are involved with each and every service that they are receiving. So I want to hear from you guys. Why do you think about it? I gave you a couple of reasons, right? But why do you feel education and training is important for mental health treatment and TBS services?
So they can advocate for themselves. And if they have questions, they can ask questions. They feel comfortable asking the questions.
Absolutely. Yes. Good job, Wendy.
For
Letting them know-
safety reasons. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, then.
For safety reasons, because I have consumer that I deal with that uses a walker, but he refuses to use a walker. He's broken bones in his neck. So I'm constantly educating him on safety, the reason why he needs to use the walker, the things he can prevent, and things of that nature, instead of just constantly telling him, use your walker, use your walker. I'm educating him as I'm telling him to use the walker.
Good job. Good job, Lynn.
I would say with that, I have a couple of clients, but for them, I think it makes it so they don't feel like they're alone. They're not on an island all by themselves. To
Right.
understand that this is something that a lot of people deal with. I even share the fact that I suffer with depression and anxiety, and I share some of my journeys with them because it makes them realize that they're not alone.
That's good. And sensible self-disclosure, that can be used in a very positive way.
Yeah.
Just, make sure you're protecting yourself in that moment,
Oh,
right?
definitely. Oh, definitely.
Right,
Yeah.
yes. But that is a great way to build rapport. So your client is going to trust you more and want to share more with you because they feel like, okay, you really understand me. Like, you're not just someone who's here because you're paid to be here. Like, you actually get it. So that's great. Thank you, Anna. All right. Anybody else have any reasons as to why we actually provide this intervention? Or why
I have a lady, she has increased symptoms of depression.
Mm-hmm.
Can understand why she's not getting any better. We've tried coping calming skills. So I actually coordinated with the nurse, and she's very hit and miss on her psychotropic meds and her antidepressants. So I actually had to do an education with her on the importance of the compliance with the medication, because if it's not regulated, you're not taking it, it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm. I love that you took the time to identify what the barrier was, right?
Yes.
Because why aren't we moving in the right direction?
Correct.
So let's find what that barrier is so that we can address it. And how are we going to address it? We're going to provide some education.
Mm-hmm.
So good job. Look at us
Thank you.
tying everything together. Like, great
Getting
job,
this.
Molly. Yes. Okay. I like Stacy's class. I'm going to have to take her class over. She came from I like y'all. Okay. All right. So let's jump right on in. Okay. So when it comes to choosing topics for what you are going to be providing education on or psychoeducation, you want to remember to provide education on topics that are based on medical necessity and topics that are specific to your client's needs, their abilities, and of course, their willingness to learn. Okay. So you want to find out what matters to your client or what would make the most difference in their life if they were to master a new skill or learn more about it as it relates to their mental health. So, of course, you're going to be assessing your client's needs to determine their ability to learn or even to grasp a certain task, whatever task it is that you're going to be teaching. Okay. So, of course, you want to make sure you're consider doing a SNAP assessment because that can help you to determine what topics your client could benefit from learning or what can help to reduce symptoms and improve their functioning. So, what are some potential education and training topics that you guys think you could go over with your clients or maybe their guardians or even someone else on their care team?
I've recently done the education form with bipolar that we have in our TBS handbook.
Mm-hmm.
She was just diagnosed with bipolar disorder and couldn't understand from being manic to then hitting the low of the low.
Depression,
so,
yeah.
So we utilize that sheet to go through that.
Good. I like it. All right. What are some other topics that you guys could potentially use? Just one more person.
I have a client that he's been living in an LTC for 5 years.
Okay.
And he is able to take care of himself and do things. And so I had to make the phone call and talk to his daughter about the education of what is better for him, for his mental health, and the fact that he actually can care for himself more than everybody was thinking. So we had to go through that. And that made a big difference in his mental health because he started realizing he can do more for himself. And so he's actually being transferred to an assisted living instead of being at a nursing home because he can do more for himself. And so that was a phone call that I had to make to explain to his daughter, who's power of attorney, as to like why we were doing this, what it was a benefit for, and go through the whole 9 yards.
Look at that, helping the clients to achieve that independence, right? I love that. Good job. All right. So, some other possible education and training topics for clients, guardians, or anyone else on their care team, again, could be psychoeducation on client diagnosis or the symptoms that they are experiencing. So, again, that we can normalize their experience, right? We could go over the purpose and the scope of TBS, including boundaries. You want to consider educating your client on what TBS is and how that differs from therapy. We see that a lot where people are receiving case management or TBS services, and we're in session, right? So they just naturally think, oh, I have a therapist. Nope, got to be licensed for that, right? So try to make sure they understand the differences in those. And you can use the 10 activities or interventions handout because that is very clear on what TBS is and the services that we provide. You always want to make sure you're pointing out to your individuals that TBS does not include crisis intervention. We do crisis management. We provide the wraparound services. The therapist can do crisis intervention, okay? You can go over the expectations of clients receiving TBS. Like, do you expect them to attend the sessions as scheduled? You want them to complete homework, practice skills, those types of things. You could go over medications that are being prescribed, like the reasonings, the directions, side effects, that type of stuff. Go over client rights. That's a huge one because, again, a lot of times clients don't even understand what their rights are. You guys will be receiving, if you haven't already, if you haven't been here over a year, but every January, somewhere around that time, we are sending out a new client handbook with the client's rights, the grievance policy and procedure, notice of privacy practices, all of that good stuff. You should be reviewing that with your client annually and documenting in your progress note that you have reviewed it with your clients and they understand. And then also, you could go over treatment options. You could provide education on different approaches like CBT or DBT, mindfulness, creative interventions such as art, music, those types of things, okay? But we want to make sure that however we are educating and training our clients, that we are using an approach that they are comfortable with that is going to match their learning style, okay? So that was my little segue into learning styles, okay? So it's important for us as clinicians to understand that everyone has their own unique way of learning and receiving information. Even each one of us here on this meeting, we all have a different way of how we receive information. So as you are completing the SNAP assessment with your individual, just take a little bit of time to ask them about their particular or their preferred learning style. So there are several different learning styles, but today we're going to be focusing on 4. We're going to be looking at visual learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic learners, and reading and writing learners. Now, most people have their preferred style, but a lot of times people learn through a combination of styles, okay? All right, so now there are additional learning styles, but just due to time, we're not going to go over like the verbal, logical, social, or even solitary learning styles. But I do encourage you guys, when you have some free time, please look those up because your client could learn from one of those various ways as well. But let's look at the 4 we're going to go over. So we're going to look at each one. We're going to talk about how you identify them, and then we're going to give you some tips in how to accommodate them. So starting off with visual learners. So people who learn through sight, they're going to understand information when it's presented in a visual way. So with these types of learners, you can see maybe they doodle a lot as you're presenting information. They may create lists as you're talking. They may take notes, things like that. Okay, so that's how you can identify that someone is a visual learner. Now, when you're teaching a visual learner in person, you can use a whiteboard. That can be a very effective teaching tool. It's going to help your client to visualize the content. It's going to help them to recall important terms, different concepts and even different ideas that you have taught them. You can use handouts, you can use presentations, you can also provide opportunities for drawing pictures and diagrams on the board. Again, you want to encourage them to doodle because that is going to help to visually represent and connect with the material. It's also going to enhance their understanding and even improve their retention. Now, when it comes to visual learners, they often require more time to process the information because they rely on visual cues, okay? So we want to make sure that if you are working with a visual learner, that you provide them with ample time and space for them to absorb the information that you are giving to them. Now let's look at auditory learners. So auditory learners, they excel when learning is reinforced by sound, okay? So they prefer to sit there and listen to a lecture, and they enjoy reading aloud or verbally explaining concepts, okay? They often use their voices to even reinforce new ideas, and they're actually very comfortable speaking up and explaining things verbally. Additionally, with an auditory learner, they may be slower at reading at times, and they may, again, you may see them repeat things back, but that's just so that they can hear that information again. So to engage with an auditory learner, you want to encourage them to participate by asking them to repeat new concepts aloud, okay? You're going to foster a learning environment that's going to emphasize learning and speaking. You can ask questions, again, allow them time to answer, encourage discussions, and engage in active listening, verbal explanations, and structured conversations so that you're able to facilitate better understanding and retention of information. You can use videos, you can use music or even auditory audio recordings. Those things have been proven to be highly beneficial for auditory learners because, again, they learn best through listening and spoken information. And these different methods, they're going to leverage that strength for them. Then we have kinesthetic learners. So kinesthetic learners, they are also known as tactile learners, okay? They learn best through hands-on experiences. They like to have movement involved when they're learning new concepts. They like to be actively participating, okay? These types of learners, they often struggle with the traditional learning methods, like sitting still in a classroom and not being able to get up and move around. Listening to lectures, that can be difficult for them. A neat thing about them is that they have been known to excel in things like sports and dance. Like they're phenomenal at those types of things. That's clearly not my skill, but okay, it's all right. But with kinesthetic learners, they may need to take more frequent breaks. So just make sure you have like things spaced out. If you need to pre-plan those breaks, go ahead and do so because they may need to know that those breaks are coming. So they know when they need to focus a little bit more because they know, okay, well, in 3 minutes, I got a break coming so I can get up and move around. Okay, so just try to make sure you're planning that ahead to make it easier for them. So if possible, to accommodate, you want to get these types of learners up and moving around during your session. You can role play new skills or even different situations to get them more engaged in what it is that you're teaching them. Movement activities are a great way to help kinesthetic learners stay engaged in learning because, again, it provides an opportunity for them to get up and move, which is going to help them to focus and learn more effectively. So if you are able to try to incorporate taking a walk or use some sort of game that's going to involve them moving around the room, okay? Because these types of learners, it's easier for them to understand when they are able to physically engage with the material. And the last type of learner we are going to cover today is reading and writing learners. So reading and writing learners, they learn best through written words. So whether it's through actually reading or actually writing. So they find that written information is more powerful than images or spoken word. So while there's some overlap with visual learning, individuals who are drawn to expression through writing, reading, and searching for information, they are often just kind of classified as reading and writing learners. They learn best through textual and written methods. So they're drawn to activities like reading articles, looking at different books, writing in diaries, or even looking up words in dictionary, like different research types of things, so forth, so on, that type of stuff. Um, so yeah, that is how you would identify your reading and writing learners. So to support a reading and writing learner, you want to ensure ample time for absorbing the written material and provide opportunities for expressing ideas through writing. So this is going to include allowing time for note taking, reading and writing assignments, if that's what you're assigning. And then as well as you want to make sure you give time for discussions and activities that are going to reflect engagement with the written word that they just went over. Okay, so those are our 4 learning styles that we're covering today. But just a quick discussion from 2 people. How might you assess or determine your client's learning style and preference? What are some things you could do?
I have a lady who is very much into her faith. She suffers from very low self-esteem. So she reads the Joel Osteen books just to kind of give her a little bit more self-esteem. And her and I have actually sat down because that is what gets her to participate, gets her self-esteem up. And she will highlight for me which words are powerful to her or what verses. And we have made poster boards, and I have put on my Cricut machine the all the verses, and we've hung them up around her room. So when she wakes up in the morning, she sees those powerful statements and then reminds herself that it's going to be okay.
Yeah, so she sounds like a combo of visual and reading and writing,
Yes,
right?
she
So
used to
how did you
journal.
assess that? How did you assess that? How did you come to that conclusion? Were you just
So
observing?
her and I had actually, when I had first started in that building, did her SNAP assessment.
Okay.
She had 3 college educations,
Mhm.
or 3 college degrees. She was a business office manager and ended up going through like terrible depression, got on medicine, things like that. And after just hearing her story, she turned to journaling to write down her feelings and her emotions. But now she's slowly getting away from that because she's so self-conscious about her writing. So we're trying to get back into that, but build that self-esteem and have a little bit of faith.
Have a little bit of faith. I
Have a
like
little bit
that.
of faith.
Never go wrong with that. Okay,
Right.
thank you. All right, one more person. How might you assess or determine your client's learning styles and preferences?
For me, observing.
Mhm.
Like I have clients who read a lot. And then like the guy I was telling you about earlier, like I thought that he would be more open or comfortable advocating for himself just based off of him going to social events. So
Mhm.
after observing, furthermore, like ask questions, clarify questions to see if what I observed was correct.
Exactly. Yes, that's a great way to do that. And just like a little fun one I learned, um, ask somebody, hey, how do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Right? Just like a real simple question, but then pay attention to how they present that information to you. Do they go and look it up and show you? Do they go and do it themselves and they like verbally tell you the instructions? Do they write it out? Like just ask them to do something real simple to teach you how to do it and just pay attention to how they actually teach you. Okay. Because they're showing you how they're learning. But good job, you guys. All right. So another quick discussion, just 2 more people. You can answer either one of these questions. Either what are different learning styles that you may have encountered personally or professionally, or what are the various ways that people can take in new information? Who haven't I heard from today? Taylor. Did you know I was going to call her?
Sorry, my sugar is super high right this second, so I'm like comatose. Um, Usually I'm a talker. Um, Usually, like one of my guys, I sit and play board games with him while we talk about things because he needs his hands to be doing something, or he'll like walk away from the conversation if he's not busy doing something. So I learned like, okay, if I can get him to sit with me and be busy, he'll actually absorb what I'm saying, or like, um. I've made like little like board games like on top of like Trouble, and like we'll pick a card that goes with it, and him like actually getting to do something while we're talking helps.
Good. So it sounds like he's a kinesthetic learner. He's got to be
Yes,
hands-on.
definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing. I won't pick on you anymore, Taylor. I hope you.
You're okay.
I
Okay.
have one.
Yes.
I have a guy, and his way of learning, I call it the repeat, because if I tell him something, I have to have him repeat back to me what I said in order for him to grasp what I'm saying. Like I'll say, okay, this is how you fold, this is how you do the laundry. You take the laundry, you put it in the washer, you turn the button, you start the washer. Now, what did I say? And he'll repeat it, and he's able to do it. So I just call it the repeat.
Like the new term, but we're going to go with auditory. But I like good job. All right, y'all are funny. Okay, so in workbook one, you guys learned about providing psychoeducation to your clients, guardians, or again, whoever else is involved in their treatments. You may be using some of those websites. We just want to make sure that you're using reputable, trusted websites. So that's why we gave you that list of websites in workbook one. But also, let me just pull it up real quick. We have, hopefully you guys got your handout sent to you earlier, but there's some additional websites you can use. You can use the NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the National Institute of Mental Health website, or even the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention websites. So those are all really good websites that you can utilize when you are providing education and training to your clients. Okay. Again, we just want to make sure that we are using reputable, trusted websites when we provide education and training. So besides offering factual information, you can educate and train clients by using interactive methods like workshops, webinars, online tutorials, case studies, or even like scenario-based learning tools. Okay. So no matter what type of method you use, you want to make sure you are fully explaining, teaching, and demonstrating the interventions that you're going over. You may have to break down complex topics into more like short, digestible chunks of information that your individuals they can consume on the go. It can be hard to take in a whole lot of information at once. So just make sure you're breaking it down to what they can actually retain in that moment. When you are providing education and training, you want to make sure you're giving information on the rationale for whatever intervention it is that you're using, because that's going to explain, we want to make sure you're explaining particular interventions, why they are chosen, and what positive outcomes your individuals can actually expect. They need to understand why they are being assigned things, why you are working on things, okay? Explain how you are focusing on increasing or decreasing symptoms or increasing or decreasing target behaviors. And lastly, you want to make sure that you are setting your clients up for success. So when we talk about setting your clients up for success, as you see here, that might involve identifying potential barriers before they become an issue and working to overcome them sooner rather than later. So basically what that's saying is we want you guys to make sure you're doing some prep work ahead of time, okay? So before you provide any type of education and training, you want to, number one, determine your client's learning style, gather the needed materials that you're going to be using. Meaning, if you have a client who is a tactile learner, they work best through actually hands-on activities, get those things together first. If you're working with someone who is a visual learner and they like to doodle or they like to take notes, make sure they have a pen, paper, whatever tools they're going to need. You're setting your client up for success by making sure they have those things ahead of time. If you're going to be watching videos during your sessions with your clients, watch the videos at home on your own first, right? You shouldn't watch the video for the very first time with the client and be like, oh, I didn't know they was going to say that, right? Y'all shouldn't both be shocked, okay? Just make sure you're setting them up for success by doing all that. Even if you're going to have them look at one of the websites that we just looked at on that handout, that's fine, but make sure you know how to navigate that website, right? Have you taken maybe 10 minutes the day before to actually look through the website? You know how it actually functions, so that if your client has any problems with navigating through the website when you're with them, you're able to easily troubleshoot with them. Okay, so just set them up for success by doing a little bit of prep work ahead of time. It can be beneficial to provide clients with education and training about why you are assigning a skill for homework or why you're using a specific approach with them. So you want to let them in on what you're doing with them. It's like they're in on the secret, right? They're going to feel more engaged then. They're going to be able to understand what outcomes they can expect better. This is also a part of showing medical necessity in your progress notes, because you're showing us the why and you're tying it back to something, okay? Just always think about, like, when you go to the doctor and they prescribe you a medication, don't you want to know why you're being prescribed that medication? Don't you want to know what side effects you should look out for, or how long it's going to take for you to start to feel better, okay? So just like you want to know these things, your clients want to know these things too. All right, so let's go into an activity of keeping a journal. Okay, that's going to be one of our activities for this week outside of using the websites. This is our second one. Okay, so when it comes to journaling, that is often an intervention used during both TBS and therapy. But you may have to educate your client about journaling, meaning don't just hand them a notebook and say, yep, go write about it, go journal, like, because they may not even understand what that even looks like for them. Okay. So when we talk about what that looks like, there is no one specific way to journal. So journaling can include writing, it can include art, pictures, or even tracking moods and behaviors, okay? So it doesn't even have to be on paper. Your clients, they can use their phone, they can use their computer, tablet, whatever it is they want to use, they can use it. So you want to consider your client's learning style and suggest that they use a journaling format that is compatible to their learning style. So let's look at a couple of journaling apps, okay? The first one we have here, this is the Day One Journal Private Diary. So with this one, there is a basic free version, but if they have the funds to buy the up package, whatever, the premium, I couldn't think of the word, but if they have the funds to get the premium, then they will have more options, okay? But with this one, it can be used by typing. They can actually add pictures. Depending on how long they use the app over time, it can like show them memories from like a year ago. Hey, this is where you were a year ago. Look at where you are now. Okay. So it just depends on how long they've used it. If you do use this app with your client, just be mindful that there are no mental health resources located within the app, meaning there isn't going to be anything that's going to encourage them to engage in like self-care, deep breathing activities, or any type of mental wellness. It's just strictly like journaling. There are a lot of different intricacies within this app, or they can keep it simple. Again, it just depends on their financial situation. But just make sure you have all that information. Try the app out on your own before you introduce it to your client. The second app here we have is the Waffle Shared Journal app. So this app, it doesn't have as many features as some other different apps have, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes simple can be good, and it's what's needed, okay? But with this one, it does have prompts available to help your client organize their journal. But what I like about this one is that the prompts are often going to have something to do with self-care and a person's mental well-being. So that's why I kind of like this one. You can have as many journals as you like within this one app. you can use it with your clients. So you can have it on your phone, but you guys can link it. You guys can both like share journals. Like, so that's kind of cool. You can use it in session together. And for you guys as a clinician, you can have a separate journal for each client. Okay, so that's pretty cool thing there. And then a completely free option, just use the note function on your cell phone, right? Apparently those note functions are doing a whole lot more these days. If you know, you know. But you can use these, like you can add pictures, you can just write on stuff, just jot down little things. But that is a completely free version for those who have the note function on their cell phone. All right. So have any of you ever used journaling as an activity with the clients, and was it helpful?
I did. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Tracy.
I was just gonna say I have a lady that was getting angry and upset with things like all the time. It just felt like, every time I would stop in to see her, this or happened had or that had happened, and then she couldn't remember all the details, so that would frustrate her. So we talked about doing the journaling, not just to write down, things she wants to remember, but how she was feeling so that we could track that. And I even told her sometimes when you get upset at somebody, write your feelings down. And then if you don't like what you're feeling, crumple it up and throw it away, or tear it up, tear it into little pieces, or because sometimes that's very therapeutic for people. And we found that it was very helpful. I helped her pick out the right notebook with the right colors, getting the right pens. And I mean, she kind of went all out in what she wanted and how she wanted to do it. But it really did help her, keep track of how she was feeling when. And we were able to have much better discussions about them just because we had all the details and it wasn't just, well, I forget this or that, but and it really helped us in our journey.
Good. Thank you, Tracy. I love that. All right. One more person. Have you used journaling before?
I have a guy that art journals. He isn't able to read and write. He experiences a lot of anger.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like every time I met with him, he had done something or said something to somebody from the last time I saw him. And he would always be like, well, I forget what they said that made me so upset. So we like designated each marker, like each color, like to a mood. And at first he was just doing like his angry. And then I encouraged him because he was so focused when we got to session on like all these bad things happened to me. I encouraged him to start like, well, why don't we try finding something we can use our green marker for, our blue marker for? And now it's super colorful and he's actually a really good drawer and he's able to remember what happened and we can actually walk through the situation of what led to him either yelling at somebody or throwing something at somebody and work through that.
I love that. And I love the creativity of it. Even just taking the different colors and assigning them to a mood. Like that is absolutely fabulous. Great job. Okay. So when it comes to journaling, we want to make sure we are discussing and educating your clients on what some barriers could be. Okay. So there can be a lot of different things that can happen, but we want to anticipate these barriers because if we anticipate them, that goes back to setting your client up for success. So you some different things you can see here, and I encourage you to read the slide on your own. But some barriers could be that the client was busy, um, that they didn't feel as if it was worthwhile, they didn't understand the expectations, those type of things. So a little education from you can help to prevent these barriers from occurring. So there are a ton of benefits for journaling. We have like 3, 4 slides full of benefits of journaling. I'm not going to go over all of them. Again, please make sure you're reading these. But just to point out a few, when it comes to journaling, it's a way for people to express their emotions non-verbally. It's another way for them to be able to process their information or their emotions. They can brainstorm. They can visualize possible outcomes. It's an artistic outlet, like Taylor had just saying. They can be creative. They can use their imagination. It's less pressure on a person because they can do it in their downtime, okay, whenever they have some freedom to do it. Therefore, that can encourage them to feel less anxious about things. It's a way for them to just get things off of their chest, right? They can get it off their chest and they can just rip it up, like she had just said. And it's going to also allow a person to see things from a different perspective. I know me personally, I can like the thoughts in my head, I'm like, oh, that's such a great idea. Yep, I can do that, I can do that, and do that. And then when I write it down and actually like see it, I'm like, oh, girl, that's stupid. Like, why were you even trying to do that? So it's like you can use those things to just help see things from a different perspective. So we do have a handout because we want to make sure you are educating your clients on how to actually journal. So the handout, one second. This is the handout. So if you guys are using journaling as part of your homework this week for the progress note you're going to submit, just make sure you have put in here that you have gone over this entire handout with your clients. It's tips for keeping a journal. We suggest reading this to them word for word or leaving them with a copy because we want to make sure they understand all the different steps. This is how you actually educate your clients on what it is they are supposed to do when it comes to journaling. Okay, again, going back to setting them up for success. All right, so now let's just look at what skills are needed from you guys in order to provide the education and training. So as we always say, you are constantly assessing and then reassessing your client's needs. So as your client's needs change, it opens up new opportunities for you to educate them. So you need to be able to utilize active and reflective listening. You will need to educate yourself on your client's diagnosis. You need to have an understanding of the common symptoms that are associated with your client's diagnosis, but you also want to ensure that you convey to your client that, again, their diagnosis and symptoms are unique to them specifically, okay? Be empathetic, use validation, show that you care. You need to understand the treatment process and the stages of change. If you guys are not familiar with the stages of change, don't worry about that. That is going to be covered in next week's class. So you will receive education on the stages of change. And then lastly, you want to make sure you are identifying and adapting your client's learning style. You also want to be creative. You want to think outside of the box on ways to provide information. Again, your enthusiasm can motivate your client to change. If you're not familiar with motivational interviewing, don't worry about that. When you guys graduate from Series 1 and move on to Series 2, it will be discovered or discussed in Series 2. Coordinate with others, follow through and follow up on education and providing that you have already provided, meaning you should just be able to re-educate because it could take a couple of times, right? And it's okay if you have to change your approach to one that may be more suitable for your client. So let's get into our documentation scenario for today. Can I have one volunteer just read the first paragraph for me? This is our situation that we're going to be using, and I'll go ahead and read the goals and objectives. But can one person read our actual situation for today?
Sally's been maintaining progress made lately. She's been attending activities regularly. She's reporting only 4 to 5 panic attacks per week, which is significantly less than at intake. You're starting to think about discharge for her soon, but you want to put some supports in place first. What might be some education and training resources that you could refer to Sally? Are there any education and training resources that could benefit her family, friends, staff, or others in her life? How would you document that coordination based on Sally's goals and objectives? Alternatively, is there any education or training you feel Sally or her supports need now before she is discharged?
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
Okay. So that is our documentation scenario for today. Now her goals. So Sally's goals and her first goal in her own words are to feel like herself again, Clinically written, that is Sally will reduce overall frequency, intensity, and duration of the anxiety so that daily functioning is not impaired. Her objective to meet that goal is that Sally will learn and implement calming skills to reduce overall anxiety and manage anxiety symptoms by using 3 coping skills weekly. Her second goal, in her own words, are I want to get out, see my friends, and have fun again. Clinically written, that is Sally will alleviate depressed mood and return to previous level of effective functioning. Her objective to reach that goal is that Sally will utilize behavioral strategies to overcome depression by practicing at least 3 self-care behaviors each week. So, based upon that, you guys already know you would be selecting education and training as your intervention. What activity would you guys select? And it could be different, it'd be different approaches for everybody, but what would you guys select?
I would do education using mental health education websites.
That's a good one.
And then also training relationships, because on the outside, she's going to have that family support, the friend support. That's what I would do.
Good. Okay. All right. So let's quickly look at this client response example. So it says Sally reported she is feeling excited about being discharged from the program, stating, I feel like it's time to move forward, take the next step. I'm just worried about how I am going to do this alone. Sally agreed to download both apps. Sally participated in relaxation exercise from the app as she learned to navigate the app. Sally agreed to utilize the support group app by adding a post and initiating a conversation prior to the next session. What's your feedback on this? And I know it says plan our homework, but on this response, what's your feedback?
It don't list the apps. I would kind of like to know what apps that you had her download.
Exactly. That's a huge one. We need to know exactly what app we are using, right? What else is missing? How can we make this better? Is
How
everything
often?
What support group is she?
what support
Yeah,
group?
I'm sorry, that was the app. But then also offer her some type of services that she's not doing it alone. Is there home health? Is there private companies that she could have come into the home? So those might be some suggestions you could give her.
Yeah, good, good. And we
Also
want to
help her decide who her support is going to be, whether her mom, her brother, make sure they're going to be a positive support for her and they're on board with the discharge too.
good job, you guys. Look, y'all are pros on writing progress notes, aren't you? I can already tell. All right. And then real quickly for the homework section, we have Sally will continue practicing the relaxation exercises on her new phone app to assist in controlling her panic attacks. Sally will utilize the support group app at least once prior to her next session to begin to engage with the group prior to discharge. Any feedback on that?
Again, I want to know what app.
Yes, yes, yes. And what about that first sentence here? We have that she's going to continue to practice the relaxation exercises. What stands out
Maybe how
about this?
How often is she going to use them?
Yes, thank you. How often? Okay, we want to be specific. Okay, make sure it's
And,
something that's
and
never.
maybe
And which
list
ones?
and maybe list what exercises she's going to use and which works
Okay.
best.
Yeah, exactly. What relaxation exercise? Yes, good job. All right. Okay, so I'll come back to this if we have a couple of minutes, because I do want to go over your final. Okay. So, just real quickly, preparing for the final, you guys are going to have 2 weeks to get ready for the final. In addition to your final exam, you're going to turn in 2 progress notes of clients that you provided services to within Series 1. Your notes need to represent the best version, and you need to ensure there are different interventions in each note. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second because I wanted to be able to see your faces. Okay. All right. So with that, we want to make sure you guys are getting ready for the final. Your final is going to consist of sitting for an exam. Okay. Your exam will be like a 20-question exam. It'll be multiple choice. You guys will all be together when we take that. It'll be online. But don't worry about that. It's really not You guys will be fine. Okay. Look at the PowerPoints, the PDFs we've sent you over the last couple of weeks. You'll be good. But in addition to that final, you are going to have to submit 2 progress notes that show you have understood the interventions that we have taught you through this entire series. And we want you guys to highlight the activities that we have taught you throughout the series as well. Okay. So again, you're going to be turning in 2 progress notes. Now, each progress note, we want to make sure you're highlighting a different intervention. Okay. So even if you did ongoing assessment of needs, that was your first one, and you highlighted that one specifically, but you also did symptom monitoring within that same session, your second progress note you submit, you could highlight symptom monitoring and let that be the focus, okay? As long as they are highlighting different interventions for each one, okay? So you don't have to turn those in right now, but I want to make sure you're thinking about that, so that if you have some good notes that you have written since we started TBSU, what was that, somewhere around like the last week of July, okay? It has to be somewhere from the first date of class until when these are due, which will be the day before your finals. So I think your final is on like the 10th. So it'll be due the 9th. So you have a little bit of time. Think about some good progress notes you have been writing and just set those aside, so that when you do receive the link to submit your 2 progress notes, you're already ready and you're not stressing out like, oh my gosh, I got to write something. I got to have a good session, da, da, da. You're already prepared. Okay. Any questions on your actual final?
Oh, I have a quick question. So the 2 progress notes, one can be more about advocating and then one can be about journaling. Is that something what you're referring to?
So the advocating would be advocacy. That's an intervention in itself. But if you're going to do journaling, then that would be education and training. So yes, you're right. It's you're highlighting 2 separate interventions. Okay. But yeah, education and training and advocacy. Any other questions on the final? And you are going to get more information on it, but go ahead, Holly.
Are they 20 different questions, or we should probably study our old exams?
They're 20 different questions. They're not any questions that were on any of your quizzes prior. So
killing me. Okay.
Questions, but they're not, you'll be fine. Like, don't get hung up on that.
Okay.
Like, yeah, you'll be fine.
So just review everything that you guys been sending to us, like all of the PowerPoints and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All
yeah.
right. I am a little nervous, not gonna lie, but okay.
No, please. Oh my goodness. Please don't. Like, and it really takes like maybe 10 minutes to do it. Like, that's how, and it's multiple choice, right? So y'all, please don't stress over that. Oh, did I give y'all anxiety? I wasn't trying to. Don't tell Stacy I scared y'all. Oh, she gonna be mad at me. No, you'll be fine.
No. No, just because we use, well, me personally, I have my quiz and the PowerPoint side by side when I'm doing it. So I was like, okay, now I really gotta like read and remember everything. So that's all. But
no, you'll be fine.
I'm just being silly.
You'll be
How many
good.
are we allowed to miss?
You have to pass with 80%, but it'll be a combination of your score of the quiz and your progress notes together.
Okay.
Okay, we grade those together. Okay. All right.
Not anxiety, just now I'm gonna have to review. Okay.
Y'all will be good. Okay. So just real quick back to the education and training. We have our last minute here, but do you guys all have an idea of how you're going to provide this intervention that we looked at today? If you're going to be doing journaling, maybe you're going to be educating your client on their symptoms, their diagnosis. Everybody have a client in mind and how they're going to actually do that? Yeah.
I have a lady that I've been trying to get to journal and she hasn't been. So I'm going to actually go in and take this in and work with her on that. I think that will help.
Yes, if you just educate her on what to expect and how to actually do it, that can increase her odds and chances of actually participating.
Exactly. I even brought her a notebook and a pen and everything to do it, and she just hasn't been. So this will help for me to be able to say, look, it will help you.
I love that. Okay. All right, you guys. Well, we have reached 11 o'clock. It has been a pleasure teaching you guys. If all hearts and minds are clear, you guys are good to go.
I thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Have a good weekend.
You
Have a
too.
good weekend, everyone.
Bye.